Today's guest is a legend in the sport of hockey and a legend just in humanity, in human history. It's a name that's synonymous with being victorious. He's a 4-time Stanley Cup winner. He has more records than Sun Studios. This guy has more records in hockey than anyone. You can catch him on the TNT NHL panel. I'm so thankful to spend time with him today, Mr. Wayne Gretzky.
Shine that light on me. I'll sit and tell you my stories. Shine on me, and I will find a song. I will sing it. I'm on stage.
Where's your accent from?
Yeah, I'm from Louisiana, man. It's pretty good. We had a team, I think it was the Algae or something. I don't know what our...
And was that the East Coast League probably?
Yeah, it was like, or the Mudbirds or something. Some team.
Mudbirds.
Yeah, it was definitely like, even the mascot sounded like it wasn't going to survive, you know? It was like I think it was the...
That's funny.
I think it was like...
the mascot got traded.
I think it was the oil spill pigeons or something. Like, because we had a lot of issues down there.
That was very funny.
So I think our mascot was, it was bad. The mascot always had bandages on and stuff. I remember it was just, it didn't do well.
Oh.
I think
Timing probably wasn't great. It's kind of grown now. Like there's a team here in Atlanta that does pretty well. It's like comparable to AA in baseball. Mm-hmm. It's not AAA. And they do pretty good here. They're talking about bringing another NHL team to Atlanta.
No way.
Be the third time in 40 years, but
yeah, they tried it twice. I know over the history of time. And do you know, like, why doesn't it succeed? You think in certain markets? Is it just not the? Is it?
Well,
does it just take people to be there, or does it take something special to be in a market for hockey to survive?
It's a little bit of both because we don't have. Like baseball and football, it's been in the South and the Southwest forever, right?
Oh, yeah.
Hockey's just kind of getting there. So back in the 70s when the Flames first came in, the expansion rules were different. The owners wanted the money, the league wanted the money, but they gave you the worst teams. So they would go 5, 6, 7 years and go, well, it's not a hockey city. Well, people get tired of paying to watch a team lose, right?
Yeah.
So then they came back again. It was kind of the same expansion rules, and it failed again. Everyone got wiser, and when Vegas came in, they got the 9th best player on every team. They got low draft picks, and they built the foundation, and people got excited. Look, our team's good. Seattle got the same sort of thing as Vegas. If Atlanta gets another team, they're going to get that advantage again of getting treatment. Yeah, they're going to get good treatment, and maybe this will become a good hockey city because people are saying, Jesus, we're winning and let's go to the games.
Yeah.
So it's not fair to people of Atlanta. Their teams were so bad, you just say, I'm not paying anymore.
Yeah, at a certain point, you can't go and be really supporting some of the teams. I think in the South, the South is also kind of religious. There's more religion there, you know, and the only person we've ever seen even kind of, or the only person that people believe like behaves like or gets wild on water is Jesus, really. So I think the second you see a guy saying, hey, look what I'm going to do out here on this frozen lake, I think it makes you wonder what's going on here.
Well, in Canada, we call our arenas churches.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because,
really?
In Canada, it's hockey and religion. Those are the two biggest things, right? So you can be, sports is very popular in our country. Football, Canadian football, baseball, the Blue Jays do well. The Raptors have done really well. So it's kind of Canada's team, the Raptors and the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
But hockey is everywhere, right? So you can be driving in your car in July, and if you're listening to talk radio, it's still 90% hockey that they're talking about, June, July, and August.
Because you can still do it.
And it's so popular, right?
Oh, yeah. People love it. I think it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's, like down in the U.S., I always encourage parents to tell their kids, play every sport, tennis, baseball, football, basketball, soccer, field lacrosse. And they're all so big. And if you sat down here, you would say, okay, baseball is probably the most popular sport, or no, it's basketball is the biggest sport.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, football's pretty big. But in Canada, there's no definition. It's one.
It's one.
It's ice hockey.
It's hockey.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of why we never. I think up there, if everything's frozen, even,
Yeah, well, we got a big advantage because
you got free ice.
yeah,
too.
you got free ice.
Right.
It's a big thing.
Oh yeah, ice is I think $18 a bag where I'm from.
Yeah, it's ice is expensive, and parents. A lot of parents, it's hard for them to afford hockey equipment, ice skates, paying for ice time. But in Canada, most of the places you can play. I grew up in Southern Ontario, which is basically between Niagara Falls, New York, and Detroit.
Oh yeah,
And-
that's
and
the
so-
third shelf of the freezer
Yeah,
section,
so-
buddy. It gets pretty chilly
Yeah,
there.
so we had an ice rink in my backyard from the time I was
Yeah.
3 years old.
I saw some lore about that.
Yeah. So my dad would go and he would buy a sprinkler head in December, which they always thought he was crazy. Who's buying a sprinkler head at Christmas time? Anyway, and he would put it out in the middle of the ice and he would let it go back and forth for like 2 hours and then go move it another part of the ice. And his ice was always about this thick and it would last till probably the end of March.
Did he lay a good rink?
Oh, he had the best.
Really?
Yeah. And he was funny. People used to stop by the house and say, how does Walter get his grass so green? What do you do? What are you putting in your grass? My dad didn't do anything. It was just probably from the ice being so good for the grass. He always had the greenest grass in the neighborhood and didn't do anything.
That's pretty classic,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, we had some uneven areas. I remember I played baseball. I mean, I don't know if I was, mom signed me up a couple seasons, man, and it wasn't great for me. But our field was uneven. We had an uneven field.
Yeah.
So every ball, if you hit anything second base, it was all ended up in right field, right? We probably had 25% gradient on the field.
Yeah.
So we had at least 2 right fielders always, at least.
Well, that's probably. Now, listen, I grew up loving baseball. I went and saw my grandson play the other day. He had his hat on backwards. I think he was picking dandelions.
Always, yeah. Oh, yeah, there's always that kid out there who ends up being a gardener or
and then,
something.
Yeah, and then I took him we went to watch him play ice hockey the next day, and they're out there sweating and skating for an hour, loving it.
Yeah.
And they got to figure out a way to get these kids more enthusiastic about baseball because it's not a lot of fun for some of them who are standing out in the outfield.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons. I don't know if baseball is. I guess it's always America's sport because there's something rooted in tradition about it. Mm-hmm. There's something. I mean, you give an American a hot dog, they'll sit there and do anything for a little while, But I think it's true.
Yeah,
I do it. If somebody's like,
well, and the history of the game. The history of baseball, from Babe Ruth, what he did, to what Jackie Robinson did for
there's
everyone.
So much, right.
There's so much history. And let's face it, it's economically easier to buy a pair of shoes and a baseball glove than to have to buy a whole entire hockey equipment sort of.
To set that up.
Yeah.
In certain parts, right? And then in other parts, it's the other way around,
maybe.
Like it would be tougher to heat a basketball court in the winter in Canada.
Yeah.
So that people have the opportunity to be there and play as much.
We don't, although the Raptors have really found a niche in our country.
Yeah.
They're huge.
Yeah, people love them. I was in your country when they won the championship.
Yeah.
And I was in Vancouver, but people were beating each other and hugging each other at the same time.
So in our country, if you're in Vancouver, you're a Canucks fan, and you're in Alberta, you're either Flames, Oilers, and all the way across, right? But if you're in Vancouver, Newfoundland, you're a Blue Jays fan or a Raptors fan. It's Canada's team, and they just all cling to it.
Yeah.
It's something pretty special about it. And I always see when guys get traded up there, more basketball than baseball, and the guys say, well, I don't want to play in Canada. I want to stay in my own country. But the guys who go there will tell you, they get treated phenomenally. It's a great city to live in. It's a great country, and people are nice.
Okay, people's always so nice in Canada. Even if somebody was angry, I bet they'd come across the street and they'd just say, hey, I'm angry, but I'm sorry.
Yeah. There's a lot of stories up there.
Yeah, they're just too kind. Well, I noticed even I grew up in the South. There's a lot of I don't know if there's still as much, but especially when I was growing up, there was more racial disparity down there, because there's a lot of history of black and white racism down there. And when I was in Canada, I don't feel that energy.
I don't.
Everybody seems the same. It's it
I often
feels
say
the same.
that to people that we don't seem to have racism in our country. People all seem to get along.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why people always come up to me and they say, "You're from Canada, right?" And I say, "Yeah." They're like, "Canadians are all so nice." And I go, "Yeah, I think they are." And I said, "But you know, I got 5 American kids, 5 American grandchildren, and they're all nice kids too. So
wow.
you can meet a lot of nice people in the United States."
Right, yeah. Well, I think if you're coming out of that Gretzky lineage, I think you guys have to see, I mean, it seemed pretty just like nice folks, you know?
Well, they had a good mother. So,
yeah.
You know, listen, when you're working and playing hockey, you know, it's hard. You know, the schedule's tough.
Oh, yeah, you can't be
especially
like
playing on the West Coast in LA and Edmonton. We're always either playing or in an airplane, right? So, listen, I love my kids dearly, but it was the mother who was around them. The mothers are so vital. It was like my relationship with my mom and dad was very close. My dad was sort of this hockey father of the country. You know, people loved my dad.
Oh, yeah, Walter Gretzky, man.
But I would always say, but it was my mom behind the scenes that kept our family. She was a wonderful lady, and she always kind of stayed out of the limelight. Like when I was a kid and I'd play, all the parents used to sit sort of together, and my mom would sit in a corner by herself. So,
what did she like to do, your mom? Like, what were some, like when she had time for herself, what were some hobbies that she liked? Because I mean, from what it sounds like, your dad probably got pretty involved with you once you started playing hockey as much.
So, a lot of people don't know this, but I had a Down syndrome aunt, and she was born in the 50s. And back in those days, they would take these kids and basically they put them in asylums and medicate them. And
Juice them up.
Yeah, people didn't know what to do. So my grandmother said, you know, I'm not sending her to school. So she never went to school a day in her life. By the end, she was a little bit blind. She lived till she was 63. And my grandfather was from Russia, Belarus, Minsk, Russia. My grandmother was from Ukraine. And the kids were born in Canada. And my grandfather would speak to her in Russian. My grandmother would speak to her in Ukrainian. And we all communicated with her in English.
Oh, and that'll give anybody Down syndrome, I feel like.
And my dad used to always say, if you don't believe in the good Lord, there's a great example right here. But she
was trilingual then?
She could understand, but she spoke only English. And if you didn't know her, you'd have a hard time understanding her, but we grew up with her, so we were fine. So when my grandmother was passing, she said, "Do me one favor, don't put her in her home." And of course, my mother said, "I'll take care of her." So she lived with my parents for at least 12 years, I guess. And then...
wow.
Yeah. And then...
When you were a child too? It was when you were a kid?
No, so my grandmother would have passed in 88. And that's when she moved in with my mom and dad. So she had her hands full with her own kids, grandkids, my aunt. Her enjoyment really was Friday nights going with her mom, who was my grandmother. They loved bingo. That was a big thing in our hometown. Yeah. And my dad said she could play bingo every night. She loved it that much. And I used to go, how'd you do today? I won $7. I'm like, okay, at least you're winning. So her life was around our kids and the grandkids, but her enjoyment was going to bingo.
Wow. So she just found a lot of joy in her family, and then some simple pleasures. Sounds like just simple pleasures kind of.
She was very simple. Like she was, I'll tell you, when I turned pro, I said to my parents, "I'm going to buy you a house." And my mom and dad said, "We don't need a house. We're fine right here." And so there was a little piece of property, it was an acre just down the street from where I grew up and where they were living. So I went and bought it secretly. And I took them over there, and my mom said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm going to build you this house here. You're something really special." She goes, No, my house is fine. She goes, "But if you want to do something, you can put a pool in our backyard." So I put a pool in the backyard and sold my piece of property because they didn't want to move into it. And they lived there till the very end. And when my dad passed recently, I bought the house, and so now I own my house.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask actually what that was like. So your mom was like, now that all that skating's done, I want a pool back here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She said, your father's not building a hockey rink anymore. I want a swimming pool. She loved having the swimming pool in the backyard.
There is something nice about it, isn't it?
Yeah, and she loved the barbecue. I was telling a story. You know, now they have everything so regimented, right? So back in when you win the Stanley Cup, they have these two guys that travel with the trophy because it's so special. Like they don't want anything to happen to it, and they don't want it to break, and so they keep a good eye on it.
Right, like kind of like a little bit of little gargoyles, kind of, but like
yeah, and they just
protectors or whatever.
Yeah, they just watch it. They travel with it.
Like hitmen or whatever, yeah. Oh, my mom got pissed if we got by her nice dishes. She would get.
Yeah, so
there they are.
In those days, when I won a championship, I remember one day it was the summertime. I was at my folks' house. My mom was doing a barbecue. Both grandmothers were there, and I'm sitting there, and I said to my dad, "Geez, I should get the Stanley Cup here and get some pictures." So I called the Hall of Fame and I said, "Hey, I'm having a barbecue this afternoon. Can you guys drive down the Stanley Cup?" And they said, yeah, we'll be down in an hour. They got in a car, put the cup in, drove down, gave me the cup. We took pictures in the backyard, and then they took the cup back to the Hall of Fame. Now it's all organized, right? Now each guy gets a day with the cup.
Yeah.
And it's all organized, and the guys travel with the trophy. But back then, it was just like, hey, can I have the cup this afternoon? They say, yeah, no problem.
Oh,
They bring the cup down. Yeah. So some of the best pictures I have are with my grandmother, my mom, my dad in the backyard just holding the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Plate of beans in one hand and the Stanley Cup in the other.
Corn.
Oh, yeah, that was big, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah. I can only have so much corn, and then I wish I had some beans usually. Yeah, dude, you're like an ice master. Do you ever realize, like, you kind of mastered like or anyway, to me, it seems like, do you ever go to are you ever at like Disney on Ice? You ever take your kids to Disney on Ice and you're just like, you're like, those chipmunks are off sides, like,
No.
Like, do you have that much of or when you see an ice maker on a fridge, you just growl at it? I feel like you just have that.
No, that
you're
doesn't
kind
happen.
You're a frozen water master.
I will tell you this, though. I said to somebody the other day, we were on a lake, and they said, "Do you want to jump in?" And it was kind of a cold day. I said, I'm way better when that water's frozen. I'm not going in. But I did go to Disney on Ice one time because my friend and neighbor, Scotty Hamilton, I went to see the show one time.
Scotty Hamilton, he's a dancer?
He was he was an Olympic gold medalist.
Oh, he's an Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah, and then he did
figure skater.
Yeah, figure skater.
Yeah.
So he was really phenomenal figure skater and a wonderful
there he is,
guy.
right there.
Yeah, and a wonderful guy. So I think he was at either Disney on Ice or one of those shows, and we went to see it, and we sat down by the ice, and I think the time Katarina Witt was in it. And,
oh, yeah.
And it was
Spices.
it was pretty phenomenal, like what they can do. It's so different than ice skating.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think there's a lot of figure skaters that could transfer to ice skating, but I don't think there's a lot of ice skaters that could put on figure skates and do well.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing.
They're so athletic. I lived with a guy for like probably 4 months, and he was, I don't know what he was. He was pretty tall, but he was a figure skater, and he took us outside one time. They had a Volkswagen Rabbit outside, and he ran and jumped over it from one side to the other side.
That's pretty amazing.
It was just unbelievable. And it was just
Carl
an afternoon.
Lewis.
Yeah, it was just like, it just blew my mind, man.
Yeah. Well, they're the training and the techniques that they have, because they have to do those turns and they have to get high in the air to be able to do a triple.
Yeah.
So they probably, in the off season, they probably do a lot of squat training, so that when they do get on the ice, it's much easier for them.
But yeah, they get out there. Yeah, those guys can do it. I think ice skating is pretty incredible. Yeah, I think we just missed, being in the southern part of the U.S., we miss all of the lacrosse. Yeah. We miss all of the, the sports, really, the whatever it's called, the difference of sports just changes over, as you go down south.
But I was talking earlier about how popular hockey is, and it's definitely huge in our country. But if you were to go around anywhere and interview people outside of Canada and say, what is the national sport of Canada? They'd all say ice hockey, or 90% of them.
But it's lacrosse.
But it's actually lacrosse. Lacrosse was invented in Six Nations Reserve, which is just outside of my hometown of Brantford. So there's a couple things we're very proud of. Alexander Graham Bell made his first phone call from Brantford, my hometown.
Did he really?
Yes.
Who'd he call?
He called somebody in Paris, Ontario, which was like a 15 miles away.
Probably a chick, I bet.
Who
are you going to call? If you get your first call, you're going to call probably some woman or some lady you might want to say,
So they actually have the telephone in Brantford.
No.
Yeah. And the other thing is we're very proud of is that lacrosse was invented in Canada. It was a great sport.
Yeah, dude, I didn't even know about Canada. I mean, I didn't even, when I was growing up, we didn't even really believe in Canada, you
Listen,
know?
I will tell you this. In Canada, and I don't mean this to be controversial, we learned growing up the geography of pretty much the world, but a lot of Canada and the United States.
Yeah.
Where American kids kind of grow up, they didn't learn a whole lot about Canada. That there's provinces, like a lot of Canadian kids can name every state and every capital, but there's only a handful of people I know that can name all the provinces in Canada.
Probably 70 people I met in America. I'm not even joking. No. I remember in our school, we learned about America, right?
Yeah.
And some kids could barely do that. But then above it on the map, they had a picture of it was like a wolf chasing a boy, you know? And that was, and we're like, well, what is that? And they're like, that's Canada.
One of the first things I learned was the capital of Louisiana, Baton Rouge.
Oh yeah,
I always remembered that. I don't know why I remembered that, but I did.
It's a pretty good place. They had a hockey team for a little while, didn't do well, but
I think hockey's going to start going back there now. You watch, because people are. The greatest thing about our sport are the people who are in the game, like Ovechkin and Crosby and McDavid and Matthews.
And some of the Bruins too.
Yeah, they're just good kids. You know, like they understand, like they're hardworking and they love. They're unselfish to their teams, but they're unreal for the league and in their communities. Like these kids are good kids. So our sport is growing and expanding all the time, and more kids are playing hockey in Arizona, Texas, Louisiana, Florida.
Yeah.
So Nevada's a hotbed right now because the hockey team's
Kings.
done so well.
Yeah, it gets infectious.
Yeah, and everybody loves it.
Yeah.
So I think more and more kids will start playing hockey, and I see our game just growing all the time.
What was there a part of the game that you like? Did you ever play goalie? Like, because every time I see clips of you and everything, you're always not playing goalie, right?
Never played goalie.
Which is fine.
If I was a goalie, I'd be more like playing dodgeball.
Right.
Getting out of the way.
But did you ever do it to learn about what it was like? Like, did you ever like?
The only time I ever did it was when I was a kid. We played ball hockey.
Mm-hmm.
So
What is it?
Ball hockey's played with a tennis ball and running shoes.
Okay.
Unlike a sport court or
All
gymnasium.
right.
And so the only time I would play goal where I wasn't scared to get hit by a puck, it was a tennis ball. Every now and then I play goal. But people used to ask me, do you ever block a shot? And first of all, do you know how hard that puck is? Mm-hmm. And for the average hockey fan, they don't realize those pucks every puck is frozen. So the pucks that you're using are not only hurt, but they're frozen too. Man,
who froze them?
So they're in the referee's box, and so they're frozen.
Patriots probably did it.
Frozen, so they don't bounce. So it doesn't bounce.
Really?
Right.
Because it's made out of what? Rubber.
Rubber. Yeah. So.
Oh my God.
And so they used to say
thought it
to me,
was cobalt.
Do you ever block a shot? And I said, why would I? That's why they pay the goalie. That's not my job. I don't ask him to score goals. He doesn't need to ask me to block shots. I kind of faked it. You think you're in the lane, but the guy had a lot of room to shoot around you.
You know, when I started podcasting, an online store was probably one of the furthest things from my imagination or my mind, you know. But over time, we've created one, and it's been super easy thanks to Shopify. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at any and every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify is there to help you grow. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout, up to 36% better compared to other leading commerce platforms. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Theo, all lowercase. That's right. Go to shopify.com/THEO, lowercase, now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Theo. Cold turkey may be great on sandwiches, but there's a better way to break your bad habits. We're not talking about some weird mind voodoo from your crazy neighbor or them trying to do a seance on the mailman or something. We're talking about Fume. And they look at the problem in a different way. Not everything in a bad habit is wrong, so instead of a drastic, uncomfortable change, why not just remove the bad from your habit? Fume is an innovative, award-winning flavored air device that does just that. Instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. Instead of electronics, Fume is completely natural. Start the holidays off right with the good habit by going to tryfume.com/Theo. That's tryfum.com/THEO and getting the Journey Pack today. Fume is giving listeners of the show 20% off until December 1st when they use my code Theo to help make starting the good habit that much easier. Tryfume.com/Theo. Merry Ballsmas from our friends over at Manscaped. You know, Manscaped keeps your body hair-free. You can de-hair yourself, you know, unless you want to keep some sideburns on that wang, homie. You feel me? The holidays are approaching, but what if I told you that the celebrations are starting early this year? That's because the perfect gift does exist. That's right, Manscaped's brand new Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, featuring the new Lawnmower 5.0. Watch all your wishes and mistletoe kisses come true. Included in this special package is the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, the Weed Whacker 2.0 ears and nose trimmer, Manscaped's liquid formulations, and 2 free gifts. Get 20% off and free shipping with code Theo at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code THEO. Manscaped, get your jingle balls ready for the holidays. Was there you had so many records, man. Was there something that you felt like you wanted to get that you couldn't get, kind of? Was there, or were you even keeping tabs on that kind of stuff?
No. Yeah, I didn't really keep tabs on it. When I retired, I knew it was time to retire, and I didn't think back and say, gosh, I wish I would have done this or accomplished this. But I did look back and say, okay, because people ask me, what is your favorite record? And they're all fun. They're all, I'm proud of them all. But I got my favorite record is the year I scored 50 goals in 39 games. And for me, it's my favorite record.
Like your third season or something?
Yeah. And that's my favorite record because, listen, all records are made to be broken. But to me, that's going to be the hardest record to break, to get 50 goals in 38 games. So from that point of view, it's my favorite. You
seem like the kind of guy that if somebody broke it, you would applaud the fact that they did that well.
Yeah. Listen, I learned from 2 of the best people in the world. My dad, who is a wonderful man, and Gordie Howe. And Gordie Howe was my idol. When you're a kid and you have an idol, a lot of times you meet them and you go, oh, it was just okay. Maybe that guy had a bad day or whatever. And you go, well, I met Gordie Howe when I was 10. And my dad said to me, how was meeting Gordie Howe? And I said, I can't believe it. And he goes, what? I said, he was bigger, better, and nicer than I ever imagined in my little brain at 10 years old, you know? And so when I was breaking records, Gordie Howe was always there. He was the first guy to shake my hand and give me a hug. And so, Ovechkin's going to break my record, which is going to be great for our game. And when he does, I'll be there for him. I hope I'm on the ice, and I hope I get to be one of the first people to congratulate him. Because it's a special record, and it's good for our game if he does break it.
Yeah. That's him right there.
It was so exciting because I got the afternoon off school and I got a new suit that morning, so it was a big day.
Oh yeah, dude! Look at who you look. Who you look like a little bit.
Who's that?
You know who I'm going to say or no?
No, no idea.
Princess Diana a little.
Just the fact that she's a female, I don't know if that's a compliment or not.
And I just mean, look, man, I think it's very much compliment. And she was a tough lady, too.
I've heard it before.
Yeah, you have?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I think, God.
Every now and then when my hair's a little whatever, some guys say, gosh, you got Rod Stewart hair.
Oh, I think I bet a couple of men played on your team just because they wanted to be near you, bub.
But no, Gordie was so nice. He was just so... It was a dinner. It was a charity dinner. This is an incredible story. And 700 people were at the dinner. And that was the year I scored 400 goals. So the city wanted me to be part of it. And when you're 10 years old, you can't even stand up and do a speech in front of your classmates, right? They had told the guy.
So you're only 10 at this time?
Yeah. So they had told the MC, Wayne, just introduce him. He's not going to talk. And so Joe Theismann was there.
What?
Yeah, Gordie Howe.
When you were 10?
Yeah, Sandy Hawley, a famous jockey. And so they all get up and they kind of talk for 7 or 8 minutes and people laugh and giggle. So the guy announces my name and I'm like, oh no. And I'm already frozen. And Gordie says to me, now listen, when you go up there, just tell them you're lost without your skates and your hockey stick. And so I got, okay. So I got up there and I was shaking. And I remember I said, thank you. And I started bawling. I got a standing ovation. I went and sat down. Yeah. So years later, a friend of mine called me and he said, Gordie's hometown is Saskatoon. They're doing this charity dinner, which like a Lions Club, which was very similar to the one I did in my hometown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had Lions Club in our town too.
Yeah. So I called Gordie and his son Mark and I said, listen, Gordie came to my hometown when I was 10. I'd really like Gordie to come with me to Saskatoon and I want to surprise everybody. So we were in Saskatoon, this dinner, and they had sold, I think there was about 3,000 people there. And the Prime Minister of Canada happened to be in town. And he called me and he says, is it okay if I come over there and sort of MC this and ask you a few questions for the people? And I said, absolutely. No problem at all. So I said, oh, by the way, nobody knows this, but I flew Gordie in. He's at the hotel and Gordie's going to come tonight and we're going to introduce him. Well, it was like I wasn't there anymore. The Prime Minister was like, okay, maybe somebody will do you and I'll do Gordie. I go, oh, no. So anyway, when I got up on stage, I said to everybody, I got a great surprise. I met him in my hometown. I figured I should come to his hometown. And Gordie Howe came out. And I swear to God, if people didn't stop clapping, they'd still be clapping today because it was the longest, nicest standing ovation that I've ever seen somebody get. And he was so genuinely loved. And he was a really, people don't realize this, Gordie Howe was a dirty player. First time I played against him, I took the puck from him. And next thing I know, I got a whack. I was 17 years old and he cracked my thumb. He said, don't ever take the puck from me again. I said, okay, never going to happen again.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he got such an ovation. And after the event, we went back to the hotel and Gordie had brought back a couple of his buddies that he knew that he hadn't seen in a while, a couple of older gentlemen. And we just sat around and he sat there and he had a cold beer and he said, this was one of the greatest nights of my life. So it was very cool.
When you look at like when you were a kid, was most of your relationship with your dad like hockey? Like, was it tough because if you excelled at something early, right? And a lot of times fathers and sons it's tough for fathers and sons to find like a common ground sometimes to connect on things, you know. Parents are always putting their kids into different things and dads are always trying to connect with their children, you know. Was there other ways that you could was that most of y'all's relationship? Like, I'm just kind of like, I guess I'm curious what it was like.
We had a normal relationship, like normal father-son. He was, both parents, tremendously supportive. You know, by the time I was 10, 11, 12 years old, I was playing in arenas that were selling out.
That's like crazy, dude. You were like a circuses in town.
A little bit. And in
I mean, not like that, but like
I know what you mean. Yeah. But in those days, too, it was such a big world because there was no internet, there was no cell phones. And so a kid might be 3 hours away. And
hear about him.
And you would hear about him. And then when you play against them, my dad would be in the car, and after the game, he would say to me, his favorite line was always, no matter how good you think you are, there's somebody out there better than you. And I'd say, okay. And even when I was 15, 16, when people said, okay, he's going to be a professional hockey player, my dad never one time said, you know, oh, he's a can't miss or he's going to make it. I mean, he hoped because he knew how much I loved it, but he never pressured me. The only thing he pressured me about is he would call me, say, you didn't miss any classes today. So he's
really?
like, oh yeah. I said, Dad, I don't miss class because if I miss class, the team, so I was playing junior hockey and it was hard because we practiced every day and we travel a lot.
Yeah.
And so the team was always on you, like, you better be in class. So he was more concerned that I was in class. I remember I was 17 and I had this school teacher. And I was taking a physics class, and I hated physics and chemistry. I kept thinking, now where am I going to use this in the world?
Yeah,
that's all I kept thinking. Anyway, and he said, if you just put the work in, I'll pass you. So I did. I went to class. I went to an extra class every day with him, and he worked an extra half hour every day. He passed me, and that was the year. That month, I got offered to turn pro, and I signed a pro contract. And I remember I came back and I bought him a gift. It wasn't a big thing. It was like a briefcase or something, thanking him for for being so patient with me and being so nice to me. He was so grateful. And it was always sort of, when I signed, my dad said, "You're going to stay pro hockey. You're going to stay in high school till you're 18. I don't care what you do, but you're going to school till you're 18. So here I am playing pro hockey.
Going to high school?
I was picking up my teammate's daughter. We were in the same class.
No way.
The guy's name was Jim Nielsen, and I would pick his daughter up. We were in the same school, same class. Then I'd go to practice.
You were like Icevis Presley.
So the principal called me in one day and he said, "Son, I don't know, you're not going to amount to anything. You're missing too many classes." And I'm like, "Well," and he said, "I should just kick you out." And I said, "Listen," it was like early January. And I said, "Listen, do me a favor." And he goes, "What?" I said, "Give me till January 26th. And if I haven't changed my act by then, you can kick me out." But I knew I couldn't go to class because we were always traveling and playing. I was playing pro hockey, playing in Quebec City and going to Cincinnati and Birmingham.
Did you have an ego? Were you in class? Were you like the Fonz at this point in class?
I sat in the back corner. I just mind my own business. So the day I turned 18, I walked into the principal and I said, "I just want to thank you for not kicking me out, but I quit. I'm done." And I quit school. And I called my dad, and my dad said, "Well, you promised me you'd stay to 18." Because the contract wasn't valid unless he would sign it.
Unless your father would sign it.
Because I wasn't 18 yet. Wow. And so he said, "I'll sign it, but you got to stay in high school."
So did you ever finish high school technically?
No, but I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
Does that mean anything? So, I'm an honorary doctor.
Hey, it counts to me, bro.
So
dude, if you get most of the 12 grades,
no,
I think that's a lot. People are always like, you got to do all of them.
Yeah. You know what? I'm an honorary doctor. It's funny. I did the commencement speech I said, okay, I'm going to pick one. And people have been kind enough to offer me. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do one. And so I picked the University of Alberta, which is in Edmonton, which I thought was fitting. And it's so funny because I have different nicknames. So in the hockey world, they call me Gretz.
Gretzky, great one.
No, just Gretz.
Gretz.
And in the golf world, they call me Doc. Because I was telling the guys one day, I was playing with, I think it was Dustin and Jordan Spieth. And I said, I'm a doctor, something to that effect. So the golf world calls me Doc, and the hockey world calls me Gretz.
Do you ever get to play with Sheldon Souray? You know Sheldon?
I play a lot with him.
Yeah.
We're next door neighbors.
Oh, that's awesome.
And,
Sheldon's a friend of mine.
He's just going to have a baby right now.
Yeah, that's so exciting.
No, he's an unreal guy.
He's a beautiful guy. Like, I'm not saying he's beautiful, but
no,
somebody said
it.
I said
too.
it. Yeah,
he's got a big heart. He's got a huge heart. He's so mellow. Sheldon's not going to have a heart attack. Like, he's always mellow. He's always happy. He's never upset. A very calm person. He's a wonder. Him and his wife are great people. Yeah,
he's handsome, dude. I think that's the weird thing about some.
And he's big.
He's violently handsome. You're damn, that dude's handsome, and then he hits you.
Yeah, and that's why I always say to people, I looked at guys like him, and that's why I retired.
Yeah,
they're so they were getting big. They're getting so. And today, these guys are so big today, and the equipment is so much better, and the skates are so much better, and the teaching that they get at a younger age is so much better. These guys are incredible athletes, and I'm glad I played when I played. I'm glad I'm gone now.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like you fit in time in a certain space. Time
means everything.
I know. Yeah, you would know, man.
I got lucky. Listen, I came in at the right time. I came in when I came in. They had a WHA, which was similar to ABA, AFL, and they were signing kids under 20.
Which seems illegal in some place. I mean, it's like how?
Well, so I signed, but had there not been that league, I might have had to play another 3 years of junior. You never know if you get hurt.
Right.
I may never have made it.
Right.
So my timing was really fortunate, really lucky.
Do you like to read any books? Are you reading anything?
I'm reading one right now, Kenny Albert. Everything I do is sports related.
Oh, yeah? You love it that much, huh?
So I'll give you an example. When I was 15 years old, I was playing on a junior hockey team.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so exciting because one of my teammates was Murray Howe, who was Gordie Howe's youngest son.
Oh, wow.
And he's just a wonderful kid. And I wore number 9 that year because I always loved Gordie. And so when he came in, I said, look, you should wear number 9. Your dad's Gordie Howe. I'll switch my number. And he goes, no. This is, Wayne, this is my last year of hockey. I'm going to enjoy it. And I go, okay. He goes, I'm going to be a doctor. He was a really intelligent guy. And he did go on to become a doctor. So we'd get on the team bus and we'd travel to the city. He'd get on there and he'd have all these books, right? And I'd get on, no books. And he goes, Wayne, you got to get your education. I go, I'm going to a hockey game. I can't think about reading right now and doing homework. And so about 2 weeks later, I got on the bus and I had like 5 or 6 books. I sit down beside him and he goes, good to see you're taking notes here, Wayne. That's good. Good for you. And he goes, what do you got? Geography, history? I go, well, I got Gordie Howe, Hockey My Way, Gordie Howe hockey tips. I said, you want to be
Gordie
a
Howe
doctor?
sings Christmas.
Yeah, you want to be a doctor? I want to be a hockey player. But he went on to be a tremendous doctor, and he actually gave the eulogy for his dad's funeral when Gordie passed away, which was pretty remarkable.
Did you speak at your dad's funeral? What was that like?
Yeah, I did. I spoke both at my mom and my dad's.
And sorry to hear. Yeah, sorry about your folks. Man.
Yeah, it was. You know what? It was funny because there's something that just takes over inside you that you get through it, right? Like, I remember when my mom passed, my dad called me and said, will you speak? And I said, of course. So when my dad was passing, my brothers and my sister said, will you speak? And I said, yeah. The ironic thing was, when my dad passed, we were still in the midst of the pandemic. So it was actually, in a lot of ways, it was nice for our family because there was only 22 of us there. And, because you couldn't.
Right, you couldn't invite everybody.
Had it not been at that time, he probably would have had to get buried or had the funeral in a hockey arena with so many people. He was so loved by so many people. So when I found both times sitting there going, oh, this is going to be hard. And then when I got up there, it just kind of flowed because my dad, when I spoke at he was so religious, my dad. And, he never missed church on a Sunday, went every Sunday. And he used to tease the kids because he tried out for the church choir and they wouldn't let him in it.
Oh, dang, dude. Come on, bro.
Yeah. So there was a little boy across the street
They'll let
who
anybody
was
in, man.
disabled and blind. And my dad picked him up every morning at 10 a.m., every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. And took him to church every Sunday and then brought him back home. He'd take him to McDonald's and then back home. And he did it every Sunday. So when my dad was passing, he's so religious. But I remember he was still fighting to stay down here, so to speak. He was 22 days basically on a deathbed, right? And the minister would come every night at our house and he would give him his last rites. And I said,
he'd ride him out again.
Yeah,
Huh?
I say to the minister, my dad's got the biggest heart. You're coming, I'll see you tomorrow. So anyway, when I did give the eulogy, I could feel like he was there and he got me through it.
Wow. That's fascinating, man. Yeah, I remember I went to my dad's funeral. It was like, I don't know. It's just such a strange, I don't know. It's wild seeing something like that happen. Do you think it helped that your father had such a faith? Did he give you
Oh, yeah. Like, he knew there was life after death. He was going to see his mother. He's going to see his father.
So part of him was probably excited, huh?
Yeah, I think, in some ways, but I think he wanted to be here as long as he could.
Yeah.
He loved being around his grandkids. He loved being around people. He was just really special in that sense. Not too often you can say that people don't have enemies, but I don't think my dad had an enemy. Like, he was beloved by everyone. I remember one time I came home and when I would go home and visit him every now and then, my dad would tell the whole city, right?
That you were coming?
Yeah. So I got smart on that. And I call my mom and I'd say, I'll be home tomorrow. Don't tell Dad. So I get there in the morning. This is hilarious. And I walk in and there's a guy lying on the couch.
Oh, yeah.
I get over to my mom and I kind of know everybody that goes in and out of our house, And my mom was in the kitchen and I said, who's lying on the couch? Who is that? She goes, I don't know, but he's hitchhiking across the country from Newfoundland, wanted to see the house, so your dad told him to spend the night and have a good meal. Wow. So that's the kind of guy my dad was. And the guy spent the night and got up in the morning, and him and I had coffee at the dining room table.
No way.
He got to get a picture with my jersey on when I happened to be home that day, and he was hitchhiking the rest of Canada. That was the kind of dad my dad was.
Wow. They should put him in a jersey and let's let him hitchhike the country forever and just make it like a thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know,
It's not the Stanley Cup, but hey guys, have you met Stanley? And everybody just picks him up.
There you go. Yeah, it'd be funny.
I'm trying to think about something else that's pretty neat, man. Do you
Well, we could talk about my wife's family. My mother-in-law is 102.
No way.
Which is amazing.
Y'all got that long blood in you, homie.
She's 102. She's a great lady. She lived with us, helped raise our kids for 30 years. But she lives in our house in St. Louis, and when we're there, she likes to go for lunch or dinner almost every day, and she gets around on her own. It's truly remarkable. And what's amazing is that unfortunately, her dad passed away at 56, which is awful, cancer. And 2 sisters who had breast cancer both passed away. And the mom is 102 and still going strong.
Wow. That's incredible. You got some longevity then in your genes, huh?
Mm-hmm. My dad always said it's the hours you get before midnight.
For sleeping?
For sleeping.
Oh, God.
That gives you longevity. And my mother-in-law is asleep by 8:30 and gets up at 4. I think there's something to that.
I think there's something to it.
Yeah.
There's something nice when you're up in the morning and you feel like you just kind of got up with the sun. You just feel like you're kind of dialed in.
And you know, it's amazing. The older you get, the earlier you get up, right? And the less you sleep for some reason.
Yeah, isn't that weird, man?
And my dad used to always say, I remember he had a famous quote to me. He goes, you spend your whole life as a kid trying to figure out how to stay out of bed. And as an adult, you try to figure out your whole life, how do I get to sleep? How do I get in bed? It's so true.
Yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes when people are like, if I even think about like leaving this earth, and passing away from here, I think about just getting some good rest, It's kind of the way I think about it in my head.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
Some of that will be relieving. Did you guys ever go on any vacations and stuff when you were a kid? Because if you were always doing hockey, it seemed like you were probably always on the run. Did y'all ever go to Florida or somewhere, the North Pole?
That's funny, the North Pole. Well, 2 things. Are my mom's life, and this is sometimes she would complain about this. So in the wintertime, it was hockey tournaments. Summertime was lacrosse and baseball tournaments. So that was our vacations. And then every 3 years, my dad's sister, because my grandparents in the 50s had tobacco farms, and people from the South would come up to work in the summer because the season for picking is a little different. So they can make money in Canada, then go back.
Oh, that's nice.
So my uncle was from Greensboro, Carolina. He married my dad's sister. And every 2 years, we would go down there for 2 weeks. We'd drive down for 2 weeks and stay there with our cousins and my aunt and uncle. And that was probably our vacation, right? I remember one time driving back, I convinced my parents to stop in Cooperstown, which was a little out of the way. And my mom was so mad. She said, we spent an extra 6 hours driving so you could go to Cooperstown. And my dad would say, this is good for him. It's okay.
Oh, that's so much fun. Man, I love it. Even when you were talking about like the lore, like back in the day, if you heard about a kid playing, you'd have to go and see him. Like,
oh, yeah. Yeah, that was the way it was back then.
Oh, there was something so much more magical about like lore. Like they don't have as much of it anymore because everybody, I don't know.
But the funny thing is, like if you say to kids today, like New York to London, England, it's not that far. We used to think Brantford to Windsor, Ontario, which was a 2.5 hour drive, was like going to the other side of the world, right?
Yeah.
Like the world was so much bigger back then. And
we thought Florida. If we saw somebody had a shirt on in
Florida?
Louisiana, if it said Florida on it, it was like there was only 2 places to go.
You must be the richest guy here.
Yeah, heaven and Florida.
Here you go.
Yeah, it was like, dang, you've been to Florida?
We never got to Florida.
Yeah.
But we got to Carolina, which was really nice. It was great going with our relatives. That was
and when you guys just all get in the car and just drive down there?
Yeah, we had a old car, a station wagon.
And where would you sit?
I was always in the back seat, And then
It's like school, huh?
Yeah, and we would drive, and Gosh, we didn't have air conditioning in our car, so every now and then you roll down the window so it wasn't as hot. But then you get down to Carolina, it was so humid, right? You'd be like, oh, put the windows up and let's sweat. So my dad used to always tease me when I was 13, 14, 15. He'd always say, if you do make professional hockey, just remember, buy me a Cadillac.
Yeah.
So I bought him one of those big Brits Cadillacs, and I brought it home, right? So the summer goes by, the year goes by, I go back home the next summer, and I look at the car, and there's like 80 miles on it. And I go and I said to my mom, I said, I bought Dad this car. Why is he not driving it? She goes, he can't drive it to work because he doesn't want to have a nicer car than his boss. Oh. So he ended up, I think he sold it. I don't think he really ever drove it. But it was a good father-son thing that we had together growing up as a kid, right?
Yeah. Is pornography causing a problem in your life? It's a fair question. You know, there were times when I was looking at too much and ogling and letting my brain be occupied with things that it really shouldn't. Just things I didn't need to see. It wasn't good for my heart, wasn't good for my soul. Well, if that's something that's been a part of your life at all, you're certainly not alone. Shame and stigma prevent men from talking about these issues and getting help for them. That's why I want to introduce my friend Steve Wolt, who is the founder of Valor Recovery, a program to help men overcome porn abuse and sexual compulsivity. Their coaches are in long-term recovery and will be your partner, mentor, and spiritual guide to transcend these problematic behaviors. I cannot recommend Valor Recovery enough. To learn more about Valor Recovery, please visit them at valorrecoverycoaching.com or email them at admin@valorrecoverycoaching.com. And if that's something you struggle with, just know that there are ways to get better. Blue Chew, baby, if you need it. If your wiener's that dangler, baby, and you want that looker, baby, that one that's standing up looking, that's what can help you. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. That's right, Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. The neighbors won't know. They'll think you're getting something normal, some candy or something, some lollipop, some soda or something. Go to bluechew.com and use the code Theo to receive your first month free. Just pay $5 shipping. That's right. Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code Theo at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BLUECHEW.com. Promo code THEO to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. There's so much to be thankful for: family, friends, food, and NFL football all week long. DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping your Thanksgiving week full of action. New customers can bet just $5 on the NFL action to score $150 instantly in bonus bets. That's right. No matter your appetite, there's something for you. Money lines, parlays, props, live bets, and so much more. You name it, they've got it. I see they've got Detroit minus 7.5 over the Packers on Thanksgiving Day. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code Theo. New customers can bet $5 on the NFL Thanksgiving action to score $150 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, with code Theo. The crown is yours. Do you remember like the first date you ever went on when you were a kid or something like that?
Really, hockey was my life.
It was, huh?
Yeah,
Who was your girlfriend?
I didn't have one, just hockey. Yeah, just, I had a junior A coach when I was 16 years old playing with 19, 20-year-olds. And he would say, playing junior hockey is really hard. But being a professional hockey player is a great life. And so you said, you got hockey, you got schooling, and you got nightlife. And you can only do 2 of the 3. So make sure you pick the right 2. So when you're 16 years old, it was my life. I loved, lived, and died it. Go to school from 8:30 to 3 o'clock. Practice 4 to 6 every night, play usually Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, back to school,
Right.
same thing, same routine.
When you listen, when you see like how you were compared to like how some other players were, right? Did you think that you almost had like a abnormality, how much you liked it or how much you focused on it? Like, was it that kind of thing? Because I see players, I have friends that are good at things and friends that really are.
Let's put it this way. I knew there's a lot of other really good players and athletes, but for me, especially when I got to be 16, I knew that was my life. Like I knew it wasn't going to be a great student. I knew it was going to be hard for me to get a college degree. I understood that. I knew my forte was going to be hockey. And growing up playing baseball, track and field, lacrosse, and I encourage parents all the time, all those sports helped my hockey.
Oh, yeah.
And so by the time I got to 16, I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I want to be a professional hockey player. And so I really, that was my focus. And the only advice my dad used to give me really was, you got a great opportunity here to really have a wonderful life. And the good Lord blessed you with a love and a passion like I've never seen before. And sort of like, don't blow it, don't throw it away. And so I always kind of thought that I never thought I was missing out going to a different city or going here or doing this. My enjoyment was being on the ice.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was missing anything else. Like,
Wow.
I never even fazed me.
Yeah, that
right?
was the thing.
And, I can remember my dad saying, you're going to have so many opportunities here. For some reason, with your aunt being Down syndrome and you growing up with that, and the Canadian Institute for the Blind was in my hometown of Brantford. Like, there's more than just hockey. Like, one day you're going to be a symbol for good things. And so I kind of grew up with it, right? That was kind of my education.
What a powerful thing to say to a child too,
Oh, yeah.
that they have if they do their best, not even do their best, but if they
can help people.
They make enough effort that they have the possibility to be a symbol for good.
Yeah, and so
that's really powerful.
Yeah, and so I guess I became Wayne Gretzky, and so just had a love for it. That's all.
Is it hard? Like,
Trust me, there was a lot of guys with more talent than I had.
Right.
There's a lot of guys who were better than I was.
Really?
And then there's some guys that I just wanted it more than.
Yeah.
But by no means was I the best player ever. There were so many great players.
Did any players ever smoke cigarettes like at halftime or whatever?
No, that kind of faded out in the late 70s.
Damn.
60s and 70s, people grew up with that. Unfortunately, that's what happened to my mother. She was a smoker at 16 years old, but that was that era, right?
Yeah.
And there were not a lot of hockey players who smoked, but there was a few. But by 1980, that was all, it was gone.
Sometimes you like to romanticize seeing somebody spark,
Well, I think it was Mickey Mantle or Joe DiMaggio. Didn't they do ads for cigarettes in the 50s?
Isn't that
they used
crazy?
to get paid to be on pictures. And everybody just kind of accepted it. And now they get mad if you endorse betting. That's the new big thing.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing that now. Everything's kind of become like a lot of the ads now are gambling. I think a lot of people are gambling on stuff.
And all the owners, a lot of them own their own places and, all sports, baseball, basketball, football. So, I just did a wonderful commercial with Jamie Foxx for BetMGM, and I had a ball doing it with him. Wonderful
nice.
guy. Yeah, it was fun.
Did y'all wear tuxedos or something in it?
We wore suits, though.
Yeah, their ads always had like a polished look.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was his first working day after his injury, but he was great. He was fine, and he worked all night the night before. Then he worked all night with me that night.
Had you ever worked with him before?
No, I hadn't worked with him before, but small world. We lived 5 minutes apart in Thousand Oaks, so I used to see him periodically at different things. But he was beloved in the community, and another guy. He really didn't have any enemies. Everybody loved him.
Well, he's one of the most talented. People forget also that he's a stand-up comedian.
Oh.
How great he was. And Living Color was like the best TV show they ever had when I was growing up.
The Jamie Foxx show was unbelievable. Yeah. He was so talented. And didn't he win an Oscar for, I forget.
Oh, yeah, Muhammad Ali maybe?
No, it was Ray.
Ray.
Yeah. He was unreal.
Sugar Ray Leonard? No, who was it? Ray LaMontagne?
No, the singer. Ray Charles. Yeah. I was going blank too, but he was phenomenal in that. So anyway, I had fun with him. He's a wonderful guy.
Did he seem healthy? Yeah,
he's fine. He was great. He was happy.
I
don't even know really what happened. He didn't, it's not my business, and he didn't talk about it. But
if you didn't know something had happened, you wouldn't even know.
No, you wouldn't have known.
Wow.
He was doing fine. And he, like I said, he was working late. Like he'd worked the night before, sort of 9 o'clock to 5, because they got to shut everything down so they can film it in an actual place, right? And so the next night was sort of 8 o'clock to 5 again. He was unreal. He was fine.
Did you guys go see a show or anything while you were out there or no?
No. I'm not big on going to shows. Although my friend who I work with, Henrik Lundqvist, went to the opening of the Sphere in Vegas.
Oh, wow.
And he said it's not like anything you've ever seen before. First of all, U2, and then so...
It's the future, huh?
He says they have these AI robots that when you talk to them, you think they're real people. He said it's unbelievable.
Man. Reminds me of this girl I dated for a while.
I said, we're going to have a hockey coach. That'll be the first one, a hockey coach, AI. He's our hockey coach.
I always fantasized if it would be pretty cool. Not fantasize, that's a weird word to say to another man, but I always thought about, wouldn't it be neat if there was a team where people could sit at home and make, like, as a group, vote really fast on what the next play should be, and that it would almost be a completely controlled team by, like, fans, You probably would struggle in hockey because it's so quick. Yeah.
But you could probably do it in football for sure, set up a play.
Football was, I think, the sport that I thought about it the most.
Yeah, hockey would be hard. Maybe even baseball, because you could pick the pitch that the pitcher throws.
Yeah.
And who's pitching.
It'd be pretty interesting.
2 of them you could do probably.
Did you ever get to meet Michael Jackson or not?
No, but I used to do hot yoga in Thousand Oaks with his brother.
Tito?
Yeah, it was fun. Nice guy. So
yeah.
But I never met Michael Jackson, no.
I remember I got to talk to Hulk Hogan, and he met Michael Jackson one time. It was just interesting.
I got a great Hulk Hogan story.
Yeah.
So people don't know this, but Hulk used to live in Thousand Oaks too. Mm-hmm. And it was December 24th. We go to the Thousand Oaks Mall, and I'm getting last minute Christmas gifts for my kids who were at the time sort of 10, 12, and 14. So I put them all in the car, and they had a valet parking for at the mall. So I come out, and I put all my bags in the car, and I drive home. So I get a call around 7 o'clock, and he goes, "Wayne?" I go, "Yeah." And he says, "Terry." I think his real name was Terry.
Yeah, Terry Bollea.
He goes, Terry. He goes, "Hulk." He goes, "We got a problem." I go, "What's the problem?" He goes, "We got the exact same car. I got your car and your presents, and you got my car and my presents." So I go outside, and I'm like, "Oh my God." He goes, "Yeah, my kids are older. It's probably not going to work." So I said, "I'll meet you halfway." So we drove back halfway together, and we switched the cars out, got the presents, and went home. True story.
You guys got in each other's cars?
Well, because the valet guy just came out, and they were exact same cars, and we weren't, we weren't really paying attention because the same color, same car.
But then your kids wake up in Christmas morning and they all get bandanas. You're like, they get bandanas and body oil.
Isn't that funny though?
Your 12-year-old daughter's getting a jar of body oil. You're like, this seems a little weird, Dad.
I do remember him saying, "I don't think your kid's going to like what I got my kids." They're older.
It's all coal they got his kids.
You go.
Did you, when you met your wife, how'd you know that she was like the wife for you? Like
my dad told me.
Really? Gosh, he was a real leader there.
The first week I said, "What do you think?" He goes, "Oh, she's a lifer." I go, "You just met her." You know what? We had the same similarities. Like we both want to have a family. We want to have kids. We both love sports. It's wonderful that I actually, her and I watch hockey together, baseball, football, basketball. She loves going to games. She loved growing up with our kids, going to all their sporting events and going to the girls' ballet and dancing. We just, we think the same way, I guess. And we're born 16 days apart. She's January 10. I'm January 26. So we had a lot in common,
Is it different being a dad to like a girl and a boy? Like, I don't have any children. Like I would like to have some one day, but I just don't have any yet.
In some ways it's different. In other ways it's not. It's just a little bit different, but not really.
Did it come easy to you being a dad? Some of my friends have a tough time,
Yeah.
and some of them.
Oh yeah, I loved being a dad. So yeah, you know, I always told my friends, you know, you do all your parenting until about 13 or 14. If they haven't learned by then, you haven't done the job right?
Yeah.
And our biggest thing in our house was everybody can say please, thank you, and excuse me. That was our biggest not fight, but that was the biggest thing we drilled in all the time. And then when your kids get to be 16, 17, 18, then you become best friends. And so I don't really look at my kids as kids anymore. I look at them as my closer friends. Simple as that. So
Oh, it's interesting. Yeah, they kind of evolved then, huh?
I'd rather hang out with my kids at this age now than travel somewhere to go visit somebody for 2 days, you know? It's just as fun.
Did you ever have to take your kids, like, what, did you ever take them trick-or-treating or something like that?
So this is a funny story too. So when I played for the New York Rangers, we had a apartment in a
Did
high-rise.
Patrick Waugh play there or no?
No. Mark Messier was on that
Yep,
team.
Messier.
And Brian Leach. So we lived in this high-rise, 16th floor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was our first year in Manhattan. And
Your whole family was living in a high-rise in Manhattan?
we had a 3-bedroom. There was, at the time, we only had 3 kids. So we had bedroom for my wife and I, one for the 2 boys, and one for Paulina. And so I remember I said to the doorman the day before Halloween, I said, where do we trick or treat here?
Yeah.
He goes, oh, everybody just walks through the building. And I'm thinking, no. So we lived on just off
You
of
take them out in the streets of Brooklyn?
No, listen. So I'm like, we're right on Madison Ave, 63rd and Madison. So I go out there, I said, okay. And I walked into every one of those stores that I know my wife had ventured into a lot, Prada, Gucci, on. I said, you guys better have candy tomorrow at 6 o'clock. And so we walked the kids down. I said, you got to be outside, right?
Yeah.
You can't be walking in. So we go into like Gucci and they give them stuff. We go in Prada, they're getting candy. I still think they do it today, but it made more sense to me than walking through an apartment building.
Yeah,
Kids want to be outside on Halloween.
Oh, you have to. You have to run inside.
Yeah. So it was fun.
When was it fun doing trick or treating when you were a kid? Like, do you remember what you dressed up as? You just dressed up as a hockey player?
I always went as a hockey player. So, and I'll tell you why. Because every Halloween, it seemed like we had to practice that night. So we would be on the ice from like 5 o'clock to 6, and you know it gets dark by 6:30 at that time of the year in Canada. So my dad would race me home. I'd get a pillowcase and I'd go up and down the street, get a ton of candy, and I just left my hockey uniform on. Just took my helmet off. And every place I went to, the people, they all knew I was coming as a hockey player. They used to laugh because it's a small community, small street. You knew everybody, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Wayne's here again, the hockey guy.
Gosh, that's wild, man, that it was that much of your life that it was your Halloween costume. That says a lot, I feel like.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, when I was 7, I went to a barber shop, and I asked the barber if he could give me a Gordie Howe haircut. That's how much I liked Gordie Howe in hockey. It was crazy.
What's something that you like admire about each one of your children, kind of?
No, they're all nice. You know, they're polite. They're not egotistical. They're not in the slightest jaded at all. They're just good kids. That's, you know, my youngest 2 are still in college and they love it. I have a son at NYU and a daughter at SMU, and 3 kids who have children of their own now. Yeah, they're nice. None of them are jaded. That's the best part.
When you finished hockey, like as a employee, as a player, did you did you find like, was it tough to like take that energy and all that motive like that, because you have such a focus and there's a focal point? Was it interesting to see like how that popped up in other places in your life, or was it
that was a big issue? It hasn't and it doesn't. Wow. You know, my life was hockey. If I go play tennis, I just play. I don't really even care about the score. If I go play golf, it doesn't matter if I shoot 83 or 93. I don't worry about it. I don't stress about it. You know, I did all that, you know, and I loved it. But I don't have that same like fight or battle for fun. I just don't have that. And, you know, people always say Michael Jordan's so competitive of everything he does. And
that's not you.
That's not me. I'm fine. I'm happy with what I accomplished. I'm happy. I did it. I'm happy I'm done. But that's all kind of behind me now. I don't worry about it. It's like I get parents that come up to me, and, you know, mothers are hardest, right? And my mom was worse too. She chased down Bobby Hall to get an autograph for me. And so when moms grab me, I go, I get it. My mom did it for me too. But the moms will always say to me, will you tell my son how many hours a day you used to practice? And I go, that's not it. And she go, what do you mean? I go, that's not it. I said, I just did it because I loved it. If you have to say you got to be out there 2 hours or 3 hours, you're in the wrong thing. I just was there all day long because I loved it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Moms would be nuts. I remember Michael Landon was coming to our town once, and mom was all excited, but he didn't show up.
He couldn't leave the prairie.
I think every week on that show, one of his kids was like getting beaten by kicked by a horse, or like somebody had dementia.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean a 9-year-old has dementia? Like every week it was like there was
something
like
different.
there was iron and too much iron in the water or something, or somebody was blind. So when you get on one of those early teams, like were you guys on a bus just cruising like through like Canada, like were you guys like just heading all over the place? Did you ever have that kind of time or no?
So when I played junior hockey in the league, I was in Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
I was on a team called Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, which was the farthest north in Ontario.
Wow.
So our closest bus trip was 3.5 hours to Sudbury. So the team got an airplane. It was a DC-3.
No.
And we used to fly to all the games and basically play Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, and fly back to Sault Ste. Marie, and we do that twice a month. And then when I turned pro, you know, Edmonton, we flew commercial everywhere. And, you know, it was a lot of flights that we went to Edmonton through Minnesota or Edmonton through Chicago to get to. There wasn't a whole lot of direct flights from Edmonton to Manhattan.
Nuh-uh.
So, I traveled a lot. We've been around a lot.
I remember I went to Florida, so I was in Florida, right? I've been on a cruise ship, and I had to go to Edmonton to perform, right, at the comedy club there.
Oh, yeah.
It was like one of the first
I've
times.
been in there.
Oh, yeah, at the Mall of America, right, or Mall of Canada.
Yeah, they built that one before the one in Minnesota.
Well, that one, first of all, you guys has a gun range in it, which isn't crazy, you know.
And we got a lake with waves. We got a hockey rink in there. It's pretty much everything in there.
There's like 4 American Eagles in there, and there was an actual American eagle in there last time we were in there. Yeah,
Oh.
And it was hatching. It was doing like a I think it had a couple of chicklings or whatever near Payless shoes.
Yeah, I've never been a hunter. You know, duck hunting.
Big in your country,
Yeah,
huh?
it's big in Alberta, big in Saskatchewan. We went hunting one time. I went one time in my life. Went with 3 teammates. We were 19 years old. We didn't know what we were doing. And we're 2 hours in. We were duck hunting, and we couldn't figure out where the ducks were. And this guy come over and he said, you guys got a goose call. That's how bad our hunting was. And we're standing there going, well, no, we just thought there was no ducks.
Yeah, you look over, just Tony Siragusa is there.
You got the wrong horn or whatever. I'm like, okay, that was my last time. I had to go to the store. It was $5 to get a permit. I never even fired the gun. It was the last time I ever went. Never shot a gun since.
Who's one of like the funniest guys that you spend time around in the league? Like who's somebody that you love being around that really makes you laugh?
Brett Hull is a genius, and Brett Hull's one of the funniest, nicest people you ever meet. He remembers every word and every song. He remembers lines from movies. Like he's just got a big heart. He's a tremendous guy.
Did you? What's a good concert that you went to that you enjoyed over the years?
You know what?
I'm seeing Elton John this weekend.
Elton John is phenomenal. I saw Elton John and Billy Joel together.
No way.
At the Forum years ago, which was remarkable. But you know, my very first concert I ever went to was Chicago. Remember the band Chicago? Mm-hmm. And I remember I was 16 years old, and I was good friends with David Foster, who was...
He's the producer, right?
Producer, writer. He's a Canadian boy. And so 2 years later, I was playing in the World Cup for Canada. And he calls me and he said, there's a couple of guys from Chicago that want to come to your practice. Can you get them in? And I'm like, yeah, of course. So they came in. I think the drummer's name was Johnny Panazzo, right? And he used to play a little bit of goaltender in hockey. So they came to practice, and I'm sitting there. We went for lunch after, and I remember staying 2 years ago, sitting in the last row watching their concert. And 2 years later, I'm having lunch with them. So I always said that was one of my favorite concerts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember I got a T-shirt. I don't even know who gave. I think where we got it from. I didn't even know it was a band. I thought it was just for the city.
Yeah.
And that I wore when I was a kid. It was just a nice shirt. It was like pure cotton. And I remember I remember wearing that Chicago shirt. I'm trying to think of the first concert I ever went to. It might have been like Smashing Pumpkins or something.
Well, our big ones up there are Pink Floyd and
oh yeah, the Hit.
And Tragically Hip.
Tragically Hip, yeah.
Bryan Adams. And of
oh,
course,
dude, I met Bryan Adams in
best.
South Africa at a breakfast buffet.
and he's a wonderful guy. And of course, Celine Dion.
Oh yeah,
she was. Burton Cummings was big in Canada.
Burton Cummings?
Yeah, they were in a band called the Guess Who.
I think maybe I've heard of them. I'm trying to think of something else I've heard of. You know, my mom used to make us clean the house, right? And she would put Bryan Adams on repeat. We got on like one of those CD, like,
right.
You know, where they mail you 7 CDs for 40 cents and then you get sued over the years.
The first album was Cuts Like a Knife, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cuts
I
Like
met
a
him when he
Knife.
was 17.
You met him?
When he was 17 and that album had just come out.
He was 17 when that came out?
I was 17.
You were
he was
17.
18. He was a year or two older than me.
He was that young when he became a star.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And he was good because from there he just got bigger and better. It's funny because my friends all laugh at me because every time somebody comes on, whether it's a singer or an actor or whatever, I'll go, you know, he's Canadian. Like there's so many people that you don't know that are Canadian that I know.
Yeah.
I go, he's Canadian, you know.
There's so many greats. Jim Carrey, Howie Mandel.
Yeah, and there's a lot of really good Canadians.
Are you the most famous Wayne, do you think?
No, Wayne Myers from Wayne's World.
Oh, yeah, Wayne's World, huh?
Mike Myers.
Wayne Newton.
Wait, he's not Canadian, though.
Yeah. Oh, no, but just a Wayne overall.
Oh, Bruce Wayne?
Yeah, I didn't even think of him. Yeah, I think Batman might have you.
Yeah.
Lil Wayne.
Lil Wayne. I met Lil Wayne recently at a hockey game. He was very nice.
And did he come up and say, I'm also Wayne? Like, does that happen when you're a celebrity like that? Like, hey, I'm Wayne too? Or
no, he was very cordial. It was just like, I said, hey, I actually stopped him. I said, can I get a picture with you? He was like, of course. It was at a hockey game. It was the Vegas Knights game.
Oh, there you are right there.
I was like, I grabbed him. I was like, gosh, I got to get a picture with him. Because all my kids would always say, Dad, you know, you're in Lil Wayne's song. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay. And so when I saw him, I said, gosh, I got to get a picture with him. I kind of fanned it up. I kind of like became a mom.
Yeah. Yeah, you became Princess Diana
there
for a
you go.
second.
Yeah.
Lil Wayne looks a little high in that picture too. I'll say that. Like, I don't blame him. Canada doesn't revere celebrity. It's different, right, than in America.
Oh, they do. Listen, Canadians are very proud of their country.
Right. No doubt. But there's something. They like the story bet. Like my Canadian friends love stories. Like Bizzle, my tour manager, is Canadian, and he loves there's always like, but this guy, like they love the.
Well, right now, probably Drake's probably our biggest Canadian right now. Wouldn't you say? He's probably he's the closest thing right now to Taylor Swift, I would imagine.
Drake or Santa.
No, Drake's pretty big.
I got to meet Drake last weekend, actually.
Yeah, at a concert.
No, it was I was hanging out with this guy, David Grutman. He's like he's a restaurateur. I was hanging out with this restaurateur guy. I was in Miami. Okay. And Drake had some was having like a little get together in a bar that he'd rented out, a small bar. And he knew it, so we went by, and he and I had messaged each other. What's that?
What city were you in?
In Miami, Florida.
Oh, okay.
He and I had messaged each other on Instagram.
He had a concert there last week.
Yeah.
A bunch of our friends drove down for the concert.
From where? From Canada?
No, we live in Jupiter.
Oh, you do?
Fort Lauderdale area.
Oh, it's pretty over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I got to Florida once and I just stayed.
It's nice, isn't it? Yeah, dude, I'm telling you.
I couldn't get there as a kid, but now I live there.
People are on to it, brother.
Yeah.
But I got them, I said, hey, and then we started talking for a little bit, and it was really nice. I thought I was going to be nervous, because sometimes if you meet, I think celebrities, sometimes you can be really nervous, and I'm glad I wasn't like real nervous.
I get like that sometimes still.
Is there somebody that you met that over the years and you were like,
yeah.
because you get surprised. Sometimes you're chill as could be. You're like, oh, I'm doing good.
Yeah, no, there's people that I've met over the years and you go, oh, wow, that guy's really cool. Or, no. I met President Clinton about a year ago at the golf course and he was so nice. And it's like most people are pretty nice, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess with golf, you get to probably play games with a lot of neat people, huh?
Yeah, some of them are nice guys. On the golf course, some of them get
competitive?
Yeah, and sometimes they don't,
Yeah.
But I'm not competitive. So people that play with me know I'm having fun.
You're just taking it easy. What are some like your dad had a pretty strong religious belief? Did that carry over into your family, or what is that kind of like for you?
Oh yeah, we real strong belief. When I was a kid, I got confirmed when I was 14 years old. But we have a belief of you treat people the way you want to be treated. That's our big religion in our house. That there's no reason to be mean to people. That's kind of what we live by.
When you look at anything else like in life that you want to do, like are there things that like you find now that kind of or when you look to your future, obviously like spending time with your family is super important. Do you have any big goals still?
No, I really don't. My wife says to me,
"That's so nice."
You gotta. I said, I'm going to be 65 soon, and my goal is retirement. Really, I've traveled a lot. I've done a lot. I'm loving being on TNT. It's a riot. Great people. Wonderful organization. I'm thrilled doing it a few times a month, and I love it because I'm still involved with hockey.
Yeah,
I don't have to stress out over it winning or losing. So when I go and I'm doing the games, people go, "Who do you want to win?" I'm like, it doesn't matter to me. Now my heart is obviously with Edmonton, LA, St. Louis, and the Rangers. So if they're playing, I'm kind of pulling for them. But other than that, I'm like, whoever the best team is, I hope they have a great game.
Oh yeah. You scored kind of all your goals, I guess, on the ice, maybe, huh?
There you go.
Thank you so much, Wayne, for your time and just for, I don't know, just being a fascinating person to talk to and get to spend time around. It's inspiring just to hear like, that being a human is, just as important to you as being a great athlete.
Yeah, I never looked at myself as somebody different. We're all the same, right? Just be nice to people. And listen, I love doing your show. It's fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, brother.
Now I'm just floating on the breeze, and I feel I'm falling like these leaves. I must be